Rats. Usually hated by almost all human beings, even a glimpse of one is enough to cause fear. Rats usually stay in groups called packs. There are roughly 56 species of rats. One in particular has had a worldwide outbreak. They're perfectly designed to survive anything, with incredible athletic abilities, a reputation for being nearly invulnerable, and a vicious bite. The Demo-Rat.
The Scotch Resistance is a weapon that always makes you think, dang, what a cool weapon, I should use it more often, only for it to collect dust in your inventory. There are multiple explanations for it. It's a defensive weapon in an offensive game, it's overshadowed by a sticky bomb launcher, more on that in this video at the top right, but the number one reason is that people are just plain using it wrong. So join me as we will now Scottish resist arrest for all the war crimes we committed. There are 3 types of side grades in this game. One will have a massive benefit for a bunch of minor downsides, one has a bunch of good benefits for an insane downside, and one has good balance between red and blue text. The Scottish Resistance falls into the second camp, as there's a lot of blue, but the downside is terrible. The first upside is a 25% faster firing speed. This means you can draw out a lot of stickies fast, and you're going to need it for the playstyle you adopt with this weapon. The second upside is 50% more ammo carried on this weapon. It's not too big of an upside, but it's a nice bonus that can keep you up and running longer. The third upside is that you can have 6 more sticky bombs out at once. This is fine on its own, but the worth of this higher sticky count really comes into play come off the next upside. You can individually target which clumps of stickies you want to detonate, as well as detonate stickies below you. This is fantastic, as you can spread your sticky traps further out while detonating them all at once. The final upside is that it can help you destroy enemy sticky traps. This isn't necessarily a selling point, but it's a nice bonus that can help your team enter a hazardous area. But enough of the upsides, what's the catch? An extra 0.8 arm time for the stickies. When you look at it alone, this doesn't seem too bad, but in gameplay, every millisecond counts, and this time make sure you won't be sticky spamming anymore. So no more stickies for crowd control, unless they somehow don't know there's a flood of sticky bombs going at them. With all this, some people will adopt a certain playstyle of this weapon, and here's why it's bad. The most common strategy with this weapon is simply trying to cover 3 different choke points at once. On paper, this sounds like a good strategy. It uses the multiple trap locations to cover all the chokes. What can go wrong? Well, unless you got 2 other guys calling out when the enemies pass the stickies, you're only going to catch 1 at a time and probably miss 2 other points. Sticky traps often lead to tunnel vision, and this makes you hilariously vulnerable to flankers and spies. Thankfully, there's another way to use the multiple sticky traps, and I would now like to present the Demo-Rat Strat. Instead of placing traps spread out between chokes, a much more effective tactic is to fill a narrow area with traps. You can make an entire area of the map yours, as if a second person walks in after the first one you killed. Just run back and wait for the enemy to run into the second trap. If someone else is ready to make sure that 2 traps aren't enough, 3 traps will do the trick. And what they say, if even that's not enough, no one expects the 4th trap. Granted, this will only work for a certain amount of time, as the enemy team will catch on to your shenanigans and get sick of it, but you can rotate the traps and go in different locations. Enemy destroyed a trap on the left, well, he should have looked above him. And this tactic becomes better if you find a perfect spot. Let's list some criteria for a great rat's nest. The first requirement is a narrow area. The narrower an area is, the less likely they are to survive a trap. Another factor to help your success is length. A long winding area gives you more room to run and place traps down. You don't want to accidentally blow yourself up with sticky trap 2, after all. The next thing you need is a good number of corners where you can hide the stickies. A trap that is out in the open is no good. You need to hide that for maximum effectiveness. One final factor is ammo and health. This means that instead of being able to get 3 cycles of traps down, you can get 7 to 8 free kills. The longer you live, the more enemies die, and the more time you've bought your team. So there's the basics of the rat's nest. If you want a good example of one, check out this area in Upward Last. It has good corners along a narrow pathway and 2 medium health and ammo packs. Perfect for all your rat needs. But a nest on its own isn't worth much. You need to make sure that enemies come over to you. This is where you learn about baiting, and let me tell you, I'm a master at it. I guess you can say I'm a master.
You should kill yourself now!
Dumb joke aside, successfully getting enemies where you want them can be imperative to your success. The rat's nest is a safe area, but you're going to need to poke your head out so you can make sure enemies are aware of you. If an enemy is seeing you, either trying or succeeding at shooting at them with grenades, they will not like that and will try to kill you. However, they've been playing right into your trap. This is where I'd recommend the primer to be the lock and load, as it can hit people from further away and repeatedly two-shine buildings will really get under the engineer's skin. Overall, get out of your comfort zone sometimes to make sure they step inside your parlor. And that's the basics of the rat strat. It is obviously more of a defensive strategy, but it can still be plenty useful on offense. You just need to play your cards right and know where to go. There are still plenty of ways you can go with the strategy, whether park yourself near a sentry sightline and make sure that buildings do not get built, or aggressively expand and continually make sure the enemy cannot enter your territory. Only you can decide how you want to implement it. So go out there, lay your traps, announce your presence, and be a general menace to the server. And if you've watched all this way through, consider subscribing as it's free and make sure you see more of my content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.